"You misunderstood," the millionaire said. But 6 years later, when he found her, she was raising his quadruplets. May the Almighty cloak every woman in unshakable strength, quiet grace, and a peace that guards her through every storm. May every tear turn into seeds of new joy, and may her silence rise into songs of hope and healing. You are the light that breaks darkness, the calm after chaos, the heart that keeps love breathing. May your steps stay steady, your spirit guarded, and your soul in perfect rest. My precious family, don't fall silent. Your love keeps this home standing, like his faith whispered. A comment is unity ignited. This is mission 1,000 likes for every woman who loves, believes, and rises again. If you carry love, like this video, if you walk in faith, comment, "I'm with Mr. Peter." The last time I saw her, she was holding a pregnancy test and I was holding my car keys, and I made the kind of mistake that turns a man into a ghost story. Jason Dudley stared at the newspaper on his desk, the morning coffee growing cold beside his trembling fingers. The headline blurred and sharpened, as if his eyes refused to accept what they were seeing: Vincent Solutions lands historic government contract. The photograph showed a woman in a charcoal suit, her hair pulled back in a way that made her cheekbones look even sharper than he remembered Vinny. His Vinny. Except she wasn't his anymore, hadn't been for a long time, and the confidence radiating from that printed image told him she'd stopped being anyone's possession the moment he'd walked out. He read the article 3 times. Each word was a nail in the coffin of his assumptions. Cybersecurity empire, self-made, revolutionary encryption protocols. The journalist used words like visionary and unstoppable. Jason felt his stomach twist into something ugly and small. His accounting firm occupied the 3rd floor of a building that smelled like burnt coffee and defeated ambitions. Through the window, Seattle's grey morning matched his mood. The clock on the wall ticked toward 9, and he had exactly 4 clients left. 4. Last month it had been 7. The phone rang. He let it go to voicemail. Lately, phone calls meant bad news wrapped in polite language. "Jason, it's Tom Hendricks. We've decided to move our account to a larger firm. Nothing personal. Business is business." Business is business. Jason wanted to laugh, but the sound that came out was closer to choking. He picked up the newspaper again, studying Vinny's face. She looked older, but not tired. Success had carved away any softness she'd once carried, replacing it with something harder and infinitely more impressive. Her eyes in the photo held no warmth, no invitation. They looked like they could calculate your net worth and find you lacking in a single glance. The desk drawer stuck when he pulled it open. Inside, buried under old receipts and forgotten business cards, was a photograph. Vinny, at a company picnic, laughing at something he'd said, her hand reaching for his. She'd worn a yellow dress that day. He'd told her she looked like sunshine, and she'd rolled her eyes but smiled anyway. That woman was gone. He'd killed her the day he believed a lie. His mother's voice echoed in his memory, sweet and poisonous. "Jason, I found something. I think you need to see this." The phone she'd handed him, texts that seemed damning, conversations that looked like betrayal. He'd confronted Vinny with the evidence, his heart already hardened, his decision already made. She'd tried to explain. He remembered that now, the way her voice had climbed higher, desperate. "Jason, please, just listen. Those texts are about work. He's a colleague. We were debugging something. Please." But he'd already thrown the phone at her feet, already grabbed his keys, already decided that trusting her would make him weak. "I'm done," he'd said. 2 words. That's all it took to destroy everything. She'd been pregnant. He knew that now. His mother had confessed in the hospital, morphine loosening her tongue along with her conscience. The phone had been planted. The texts fabricated. A mother's misguided attempt to separate her son from a woman she deemed unworthy. "She wasn't right for you," his mother had whispered, her breathing shallow. "I did it for you." Jason had sat beside her bed, watching her die, and felt nothing but the weight of what he'd destroyed. He'd tried to find Vinnie after the funeral, every number disconnected, every address abandoned. She'd vanished as completely as if she'd never existed, taking with her whatever piece of himself he'd been fool enough to throw away. And now here she was, staring at him from the business section, a woman who'd turned her pain into power while he'd turned his guilt into a slow spiral of failure. His phone buzzed. A text from his business partner, Gerald. "Conference room. Now. We need to talk." Gerald's face told Jason everything before his mouth opened. "We're losing the Brennan account." Jason's last major client, the one keeping the lights on, they got a better offer. Gerald couldn't meet his eyes. From Vincent Solutions, they're expanding services apparently, offering packages we can't compete with. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't carving out his insides. "She doesn't even know I'm here," Jason said quietly. "She's just existing in the world, being successful, and I'm collateral damage to her success." Gerald shifted uncomfortably. "There's something else. I did some research after seeing her name. Jason, she has kids, 4 of them. The timeline, it matches." The floor seemed to drop away. Jason gripped the desk edge. "Quadruplets." Gerald pulled out his phone, showing him a social media post from one of Vinnie's employees. A birthday celebration, 4 children, all identical features, all Vinnie's eyes, but with something else in their faces. Something that looked like him. "How old?" Jason's voice came from somewhere far away. "Does it matter?" "You know the answer." Jason studied the photo. 2 girls, 2 boys, all looking at their mother with the kind of love he'd forfeited the right to receive. They had his nose, his chin, his complete and total absence from their lives. "I need their names," Jason said. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know, but I need to know their names." Gerald hesitated, then read from his phone. Lennox, Briar, Atlas, and Cade. All Vincent. No father listed on any public records. 4 names. 4 people who existed because of him and despite him. 4 reasons why his mother's deathbed confession wasn't forgiveness but damnation. Jason stood, his chair scraping against the floor. "I'm taking the rest of the day." "Jason, we have clients. 4 clients. And by tomorrow, probably 3, I'm taking the day." He drove without destination, the city blurring past his windows. Eventually, he found himself outside the public library. Inside, he found a computer terminal and started searching. Vinnie Vincent wasn't hard to find now. She'd built an empire visible from space, but finding her contact information was impossible. Every avenue led to gatekeepers, assistants, automated responses. He tried calling her company. A receptionist with a voice like silk-covered steel informed him that meetings with the founder required scheduling through proper channels, and proper channels had a waiting list measured in months. He tried writing a letter, started it 17 times. Each attempt sounded like justification or begging or both. He finally settled on simple truth. "Vinnie, I know what my mother did. I know what I did was worse. I know you have 4 children. I know I have no right to anything, but they exist, and I need to know if there's any path back from the worst mistake a man can make." He mailed it to her company headquarters. Then he went home to his empty apartment and sat in the dark, holding that old photograph of a woman in a yellow dress who'd trusted him once. 3 weeks of silence followed. Jason watched his business hemorrhage clients, watched his bank account dwindle, watched his life confirm what Vinnie's absence had already taught him. Some mistakes don't offer second chances. Then the certified letter arrived. His hands shook opening it. Inside, a single document on law firm letterhead. Not from Vinnie. From her attorney, supervised visitation rights petition, family court hearing scheduled. She wasn't forgiving him. She was making him fight in front of a judge for the privilege of meeting the children he'd abandoned before they were born. The letter included one handwritten note at the bottom. In handwriting he recognized, "You want to be their father? Prove it where it matters." Jason sat on his apartment floor, the letter in his hands, and understood that Vinnie Vincent hadn't just survived his betrayal. She'd turned it into armor, and he was about to find out exactly how impenetrable she'd made herself. Chapter 2, 4 Reasons She Never Answered. Jason walked into the family courthouse wearing the only suit that still fit properly. The building smelled like floor polish and broken promises. People moved through the hallways with faces that suggested they'd given up on fairness and were simply hoping for survivable. His free legal aid attorney met him outside courtroom 7. The man looked barely old enough to order beer, clutching a folder that seemed too thin to contain Jason's entire future. "I'm Derek Walsh. I'll be representing you today." They shook hands. Derek's palm was sweaty. "They're going to come at you hard," Derek said, flipping through papers. "Her attorney is Rachel Thornwood. She doesn't lose custody cases. Ever. This isn't a custody case. I'm just asking to meet them." Derek gave him a look that suggested Jason fundamentally misunderstood what he was walking into. To her, everything is a custody case. Every interaction is a potential threat. You left a pregnant woman. That's the story the judge will hear first. The courtroom doors opened. Vinnie walked through with an attorney who looked like she prosecuted war crimes for fun. But Jason couldn't focus on the lawyer. His entire consciousness narrowed to the woman moving past him without a glance. She'd cut her hair shorter. She wore navy blue, no jewelry except small earrings. She looked like someone who'd learned that softness was a liability and had surgically removed it. All rise. The judge was a woman in her 60s, with grey hair and eyes that had probably seen every terrible thing people could do to each other. She looked at the case file, then at Jason, then at Vinnie. "This is a petition for supervised visitation rights. Let's start with why we're here." Rachel Thornwood stood. "Your Honor, my client raised quadruplets alone after the respondent abandoned her while pregnant. He made no attempt at contact for 6 years, no child support, no communication. He only appeared after my client achieved professional success that was publicized. The timing is suspicious at best, predatory at worst." Jason felt each word land like a physical blow because they were all true. Derek stood, wobbling slightly. "Your Honor, my client acknowledges his mistakes. He's here now, willing to do whatever's necessary to establish a relationship with his children." "His children," Rachel repeated. "He claims paternity, but has never met them, never provided for them, never demonstrated any capacity for parenthood. My client did everything. She worked multiple jobs while pregnant. She spent months in hospital rooms when they were born premature. She sacrificed sleep, money, and any semblance of a personal life to give those children stability, and now he wants access because it's convenient." The judge looked at Jason. "Why now?" He stood, and Derek tried to pull him back down, but Jason shook him off. "Because I'm a coward who finally stopped being one. Because my mother lied to me, and I believed her instead of the woman I claimed to love. Because I spent 6 years convincing myself that moving forward meant forgetting, and I was wrong. I don't have good reasons, Your Honor. I have true ones." Vinnie's expression didn't change. She sat perfectly still, looking at a point somewhere past his shoulder. "Your mother lied?" the judge asked. Jason explained it. The manufactured texts, the planted phone, the deathbed confession. It sounded like a soap opera plot when said aloud, which somehow made it worse. "You believed text messages over the woman carrying your child," the judge said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "You didn't ask for her side of the story?" "No." "You left?" "Yes." The judge wrote something down. "Ms. Vincent, would you like to address the court?" Vinnie stood. When she spoke, her voice was level and cold as a winter lake. I don't forgive him. I don't trust him. I don't think he deserves to know them. But they're starting to ask questions about their father, and I won't lie to my children. If he wants to be in their lives, he can explain to a judge why he's worthy. Then he can explain to them why he wasn't there when I was feeding 4 premature babies every 2 hours around the clock, when I was selling my car to pay medical bills, when I was building a company from nothing so they'd never depend on someone who might leave. She sat back down. The silence in the courtroom felt thick enough to swim through. The judge looked at both of them. I'm ordering a psychological evaluation for Mr. Dudley and appointing a guardian ad litem to assess what's in the children's best interests. We'll reconvene in 60 days. Until then, no contact between Mr. Dudley and the children. This court is adjourned. The gavel crack made Jason flinch. Vinnie stood and walked toward the exit. Jason moved to intercept her path, and Rachel Thornwood materialized between them like a hired bodyguard. Don't, Rachel said. But Vinnie held up one hand. She looked at Jason directly for the first time in 6 years. If you hurt them the way you hurt me, I will destroy you in ways you can't imagine. I built an empire to make sure they never need anyone. Don't make me use it as a weapon. She left. Her footsteps echoed down the hallway, growing fainter until they disappeared completely. Derek touched Jason's shoulder. That went better than expected. How? She didn't ask for a restraining order. That means there's a chance. Small, but real. Jason sat on a courthouse bench after Derek left, watching strangers navigate their own disasters. A woman cried quietly into her phone. A man argued with someone who might have been his brother. Everyone here was losing something. He pulled out his phone and searched for photos of the quadruplets again. Vinnie's social media was locked down, but her company's page had posted a charity event photo. 4 children holding paintbrushes, their artwork displayed behind them, bright colors and bold strokes. They looked happy. Lennox had painted a dragon. Briar had painted flowers. Atlas had painted what looked like a basketball court. Cade had painted mathematical equations arranged in patterns. 4 complete human beings, with preferences and talents and personalities, and he knew none of it firsthand. He was a biological fact in their lives, nothing more. His phone rang. Gerald. We lost another client. Jason, I think we need to talk about closing the firm. Not now. When? When we're completely bankrupt? I said not now. He hung up. The woman on the bench was still crying. Jason wanted to tell her that whatever she was losing, at least she'd had it to begin with. At least she knew what she was mourning. He'd lost his children before they were born and was only now understanding the magnitude of that absence. The psychological evaluation was scheduled for the following week. A woman named Dr. Reeves, who specialized in family reunification cases. Jason prepared by doing exactly nothing except showing up on time. Her office had leather chairs and certificates on the wall and a box of tissues positioned strategically on the coffee table. Tell me why you're here, Dr. Reeves said. Because a judge ordered it. Tell me why you want to meet your children. Jason thought about lying, about saying something that sounded noble. Instead, he told the truth. Because I'm empty. Because I wake up knowing I destroyed the best thing I ever had. Because they exist and I don't know them, and that feels like dying slowly. And because maybe if I can be someone they don't hate, I can become someone I don't hate. Dr. Reeves wrote something down. That's honest. It's all I have left. They talked for 2 hours. She asked about his childhood, his mother, his relationship with Vinnie, his current life. Jason answered everything without decoration. When she asked if he thought he deserved a relationship with his children, he said no. Then why pursue it? Because what I deserve isn't the question. What they deserve is. And maybe they deserve the chance to decide for themselves whether their father is worth knowing. As he left her office, his phone buzzed with an email. The subject line, Guardian ad litem introduction. The Guardian's name was Thomas Kent, former social worker, current child advocate. His email was brief. I'll be meeting with the children next week. If they agree, I'll speak with you afterward. Do not attempt to contact them or their mother directly. Jason wrote back, understood. Then he went home to his crumbling apartment and waited for 4 children he'd never met to decide if he was worth their time. Chapter 3. The Woman Who Built Walls, Higher Than Buildings. Vinnie Vincent stood in her Brooklyn brownstone kitchen, watching coffee drip into a pot while dawn broke over the city. The house was silent, except for the machine's rhythmic breathing. In 2 hours, 4 children would thunder down these stairs, demanding breakfast and attention and answers to questions she sometimes didn't want to face. The newspaper sat folded on the counter. She'd seen the article about her company's latest contract before it went to print. The journalist had asked about her personal life. Vinnie had smiled and redirected every question back to encryption protocols and market strategy. Nobody needed to know about the nights she'd spent coding with a baby monitor next to her laptop, or the times she'd cried in hospital cafeterias while her premature children fought to breathe. Her phone buzzed. Rachel Thornwood, her attorney, never slept. The Guardian ad litem is meeting with the kids tomorrow. Are you prepared? I've been preparing them their whole lives for the fact that their father is a question mark. That's not what I asked. Vinnie poured coffee into a mug that said, World's okayest mum. Lennox had given it to her as a joke. I'm as prepared as I'm going to be. He did well in the psychological evaluation. Dr. Reeves thinks he's genuine. Genuine regret doesn't erase 6 years. No, Rachel agreed. But the Guardian is going to recommend limited supervised contact. I can feel it. The question is whether you fight it or accept it. Vinnie watched the sun climb higher. If I fight it and win, my children will eventually resent me for keeping them from him. If I accept it and he disappoints them, they'll be hurt in ways I can't fix. So tell me, Rachel, which nightmare am I supposed to choose? The one where you maintain control of the narrative. After they hung up, Vinnie walked through her house, this monument to everything she'd accomplished alone. 4 bedrooms upstairs, each decorated according to the child who lived there, Lennox's walls covered in sketches of dragons and warriors. Briar's room soft with plants and fairy lights. Atlas's space organized around sports equipment. Cade's desk buried under puzzle books and math competitions he'd won. She'd bought this house with her first major contract payment, walked through it empty, and imagined filling it with her children's laughter. Nobody had helped her move in. Nobody had celebrated with her. She'd opened a bottle of wine, drunk 1 glass, and then poured the rest down the sink because she had 4 kids to get to school in the morning, and hangovers were a luxury she couldn't afford. The stairs creaked. Briar appeared, holding her stuffed rabbit, her hair a disaster. Why are you up so early, baby? I had a dream about the man. Vinnie's chest tightened. What man? Our dad, the one who's maybe going to visit. Briar climbed onto a kitchen stool. In the dream he was nice, but then he left again and you were sad. Vinnie pulled her daughter close. Dreams aren't real, but feelings are. You taught me that. Smart children were a blessing until they turned that intelligence on you. Vinnie kissed Briar's forehead. What do you want for breakfast? Why did he leave? There was no good answer. Vinnie had practiced versions of this conversation in therapy, in front of mirrors, in her own head during sleepless nights. None of them felt adequate. He believed something about me that wasn't true. Instead of asking me about it, he decided he knew better. And when people decide they know everything, they stop listening. But you would have told him the truth. Yes. So he's stupid. He made a stupid choice. That's different. Briar considered this. Are we going to meet him? A man named Thomas is coming to talk to all of you. He's going to ask what you want, and whatever you decide, I'll support you. Even if we want to meet him, Vinnie swallowed against the tightness in her throat. Even then. The other three came down together. A chaos of morning energy. Lennox immediately announced she'd decided she wanted to meet Jason just to tell him exactly what she thought of him. Atlas asked if Jason liked sports. Cade wanted to know if Jason was good at explaining fractions. Vinnie made pancakes and listened to her children dissect a man they'd never met, turning him into a puzzle they could solve through sheer analysis. After school drop-off, she drove to her office. The building was glass and steel, her company name etched into the entrance. Employees greeted her, meetings filled her calendar. She reviewed security proposals and signed contracts and made decisions that affected hundreds of people's livelihoods. At lunch, her assistant brought in a salad Vinnie hadn't ordered. "You forgot to eat yesterday," the assistant said. "I'm not letting you do it again." Vinnie smiled. "Thank you, Hannah." Alone in her office, she opened her desk drawer. Inside, buried under documents, was a photograph she should have thrown away Jason at a park, laughing at something off camera. She'd taken it on one of their early dates, back when she'd believed in futures that included someone else. She studied his face, tried to see the man who'd abandoned her in the features she'd once found handsome. Couldn't reconcile the two versions. The Jason in this photo had held her hand during scary movies, had surprised her with coffee on rough mornings, had told her she was brilliant when her old boss had made her feel small, that Jason had died the moment he believed his mother's lies over her truth. The new Jason, the one who'd shown up in court looking devastated, was a stranger wearing a familiar face. Her phone rang. Thomas Kent, the guardian ad litem. "I'd like to schedule time with the children tomorrow afternoon, if that works. They'll be home after 3. And Miss Vincent, I want to be transparent with you. My job is to assess what benefits them, not what punishes Mr. Dudley. If they want to meet him, I'll likely recommend it. I know how this works." "Do you?" "Because a lot of parents in your position confuse justice with protection." Vinnie's grip on the phone tightened. "I've protected them since before they were born. Don't lecture me about confusing things." "I'm not lecturing. I'm preparing you. These kids are smart and curious and surprisingly open-minded about their father." That might be hard to hear. After he hung up, Vinnie sat in her office chair and allowed herself exactly 5 minutes of fury. She'd earned her anger 6 years of doing everything alone, 6 years of being mother and father and provider and comforter and disciplinarian and friend. 6 years of Jason getting to live whatever life he wanted while she'd put hers on hold, and now her children might forgive what she couldn't. The next afternoon, Thomas arrived at the brownstone with a kind smile and observant eyes. Vinnie showed him to the living room, where the quadruplets waited, nervous and excited. "I'll be in the kitchen," Vinnie said. "Actually, I'd prefer you stay. They should see you're comfortable with this conversation." So Vinnie sat on the edge of the room, while Thomas asked her children questions. He had a gentle way of talking, treating them like small adults instead of fragile things. "What do you know about your father?" he asked. Lennox spoke first. "That he messed up really bad and Mom had to do everything." "How does that make you feel?" "Mad, but also curious, like, how do you mess up that bad?" Thomas turned to Briar. "What about you?" "I'm scared he'll be mean, or that he'll be nice and then leave again and it'll hurt worse." Atlas bounced his basketball once. "I just want to know if we're alike. Like, do I get my height from him? Am I going to be tall?" Cade, the quietest, said, "I want to understand his logic. Mom says he believes something false. But how do you believe lies about someone you love? The math doesn't work." Thomas talked to them for an hour. Vinnie listened to her children process a situation they shouldn't have to navigate. When Thomas finally stood to leave, he paused at the door. "They're remarkable. You've done an extraordinary job. I did what needed doing. More than that, you raised children who can forgive without forgetting. That's rare." After he left, the quadruplets surrounded Vinny on the couch. "Are you okay, Mom?" Briar asked. "I'm okay." "Thomas said we can meet Dad if we want to," Lennox said carefully. "He's going to ask us next week what we decide." "And what are you thinking?" "I want to," Lennox said. "I want to look him in the eye." "Me too," Atlas agreed. Cade nodded slowly. "I need data. Can't form conclusions without evidence." Briar was quiet, then whispered, "What if we like him?" Vinny understood the real question. What if loving him means betraying you? "Then you like him," Vinny said firmly. "Your feelings don't hurt me. You're allowed to make your own relationships with your own hearts." That night, after the children slept, Vinny stood in her bedroom window, looking at the city lights. She'd built this life, brick by brick, contract by contract, sleepless night by sleepless night. She'd proven she didn't need Jason Dudley, but her children might want him anyway, and that terrified her more than anything she'd faced in 6 years. Chapter 4. The playground, where everything changed. Jason received the email on a Wednesday morning while sitting in a coffee shop he couldn't really afford. The subject line read, "Guardian decision, supervised visit approved." His hands shook so badly he almost dropped the phone. Thomas Kent had interviewed the children. 3 out of 4 wanted to meet him. Briar had abstained but agreed not to oppose the majority. The meeting would take place at a neutral location, Riverside Park, with Vinny present but not participating 1 hour. Strict boundaries. Jason read the email 17 times. Each time, his brain snagged on different words. Supervised. Boundaries. 1 hour. An hour to meet 4 people who shared his DNA but nothing else. 60 minutes to somehow communicate that he understood the magnitude of what he'd destroyed and was trying to become something better. He arrived at the park 40 minutes early, found the designated bench near the playground, and sat down, watching families exist in the morning sunshine. A father pushed his daughter on a swing, another dad taught his son to ride a bike. Normal people doing normal things, unaware of how precious and fragile it all was. Jason threw up twice behind a tree, rinsed his mouth with water from a fountain, sat back down and tried to remember how to breathe. At exactly 10 o'clock, Vinny appeared at the park entrance behind her. 4 children walked in a tight cluster, glancing around like explorers approaching unknown territory. Jason stood. His legs felt like someone else's legs. Vinny stopped about 15 feet away. The children continued forward slowly, studying him with the intensity of scientists examining a specimen under glass. They were beautiful. Not in an abstract way, but specifically, individually beautiful. Each face unique, despite their shared features. Lennox walked in front. Her jaw set, Briar stayed close to her siblings. Atlas looked ready to bolt or stay depending on what happened next. Cade watched everything with calculating eyes. Jason didn't move, didn't speak. Let them approach on their own terms. Lennox stopped 3 feet away. "You're Jason." "Yes." "You're our father." "Biologically, yes." "What does that mean biologically?" Cade asked. "It means genetically we're connected, but I haven't earned the title in any way that matters." Atlas tilted his head. "So you know you messed up?" "Yes." "And you're not going to make excuses?" Lennox's tone was challenging. "No excuses, just facts. I believed a lie about your mother because it was easier than trusting her. I left when she needed me most. I wasn't there when you were born or when you were sick or when you learned to walk or talk or any of the thousands of moments that make up your lives. I can't fix that. I can only try to be better starting now." Briar's voice was small. "Why didn't you just ask her if the bad thing was true?" Jason crouched down so he was closer to their eye level. "Because I was scared. People do terrible things when they're scared and don't know how to be brave." "That's a reason, not an excuse," Cade said. "You're right, it is." They stood in silence. A bird called from somewhere in the trees. Other families' laughter drifted across the park. Atlas spoke next. "Do you like basketball?" The question was so unexpected Jason almost laughed. "I used to play in school, not very well. I play center, I'm pretty good." "I'd like to see that sometime if you'd let me." Lennox crossed her arms. "What do you want from us?" "To know you. To maybe become someone you don't regret knowing. To be useful in your lives if there's space for that." "What if there isn't space?" she challenged. "Then I'll accept that. Your boundaries matter more than my wants." Cade pulled out a small notebook from his pocket. "I have questions." "Okay. What's your favorite subject?" "History. I liked learning about how people made decisions and what happened because of them." "Ironic," Cade muttered, writing something down. "Very," Jason agreed. "Do you have other kids?" Briar asked suddenly. "No, just you four." "Do you have a wife?" "No, I live alone. I work as a bookkeeper now. I volunteer at a youth center teaching people about money. That's everything important about my current life. It's not very impressive." Lennox studied him. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone who'd try to be charming, someone who'd bring presents or try to buy us, someone who'd talk about how great they are." "I'm not great. I'm someone who made massive mistakes and is trying to figure out how to be less terrible." Atlas bounced slightly on his toes. "Can you throw a basketball?" "Probably not as well as you. Want to try?" Jason looked at Vinny. She gave the smallest nod. They moved to the basketball court. Atlas produced a ball from his backpack and passed it to Jason. Jason caught it, dribbled twice, and shot. The ball bounced off the rim. "Your elbows out," Atlas said. "Tuck it in." Jason tried again. Closer, but still missed. Atlas demonstrated, his form clean and practiced. The ball swished through the net. "You're really good," Jason said. "Mom pays for coaching. She says sports teach discipline." Atlas's face brightened talking about it. "I want to play in high school. Maybe college if I'm good enough." "You seem dedicated enough." They shot baskets while the others watched Cade ask questions about Jason's job. Briar stayed quiet, but moved a little closer. Lennox maintained her distance, observing everything with hawk-like attention. After 30 minutes, Thomas Kent appeared, checking his watch. "Halfway point, everyone doing okay?" The children nodded. Jason said, "Yes, thank you." "Let's take a short break, kids. Go get some water." They dispersed to a water fountain. Thomas approached Jason. "You're doing well, not overselling yourself, letting them lead." "I don't know what else to do." "Keep doing exactly that." When the children returned, Cade said, "I have a math problem I can't solve. Mom's not good at advanced math. Can you help?" "I can try." Cade showed him a problem in his notebook. Jason worked through it slowly, explaining each step. Cade followed along, nodding, occasionally correcting Jason's approach. "You think differently than I do," Cade observed. "That's useful. Different perspectives help with problem solving." "Mom says that too." Lennox finally approached. "I want to tell you something." "Okay." "You missed out on us. We're smart and funny and interesting. Mom made us that way. She did everything, and you weren't here for any of it. So even if we decide we want to know you, you don't get credit for who we are. That's all her." "I know," Jason said, "and I agree with everything you just said." "Good." Lennox paused. "But maybe you can get credit for who we become if you stick around, maybe." It was the smallest opening. Jason felt something crack in his chest. Briar spoke for the first time in 20 minutes. "Are you going to leave again?" "I'm going to try very hard not to, but you don't have to trust that yet. Trust is something I have to earn over time." "How long?" "However long it takes. There's no deadline." The hour ended too quickly. Thomas announced it was time to go. The children gathered their things. Atlas said, "This was okay. Can we do it again?" "If you want to and your mom agrees, yes." They walked back toward Vinny, who'd sat on a bench the entire time, watching like a sentinel. The children surrounded her, all talking at once, about what they'd learned. what they'd asked, what they thought. Vinnie listened to each of them, then looked at Jason. Her expression was unreadable. "They want to see you again," she said. It wasn't a question. "Thomas said he'd schedule another visit if that's acceptable to you." "It's acceptable. Same conditions, same supervision." "Thank you." She stood, gathering her children. As they walked away, Lennox turned back and gave Jason a small wave, just a quick lift of her hand. But it felt like the earth shifting. Jason sat alone on the bench after they left. The park continued its ordinary day around him. Children played. Parents talked. Life moved forward. He pulled out his phone and called the youth center where he volunteered. "It's Jason. Do you have any more hours available? I want to increase my commitment." Because if he was going to become someone worthy of 4 extraordinary children, he needed to become someone worthy of his own reflection. First, Chapter 5, The Evening Vinnie's Armor Cracked. Vinnie sat at her dining table after the children went to bed, staring at a glass of wine she'd poured but hadn't touched. The house felt too quiet after the chaos of dinner conversation dominated by playground analysis. Lennox had declared Jason not as terrible as expected. Atlas wanted to show Jason his tournament trophies. Next time, Cade had already compiled a list of mathematical concepts he wanted to discuss. Only Briar remained cautiously silent. Processing in her own careful way, Vinnie's phone buzzed. Rachel. How did it go? They liked him, or at least didn't hate him. I'm not sure which is worse. You knew this might happen. Knowing and experiencing are different things. Vinnie finally took a sip of wine. It tasted like admitting defeat. They came home talking about him like he was interesting, like he was worth their curiosity. Is that so bad? Yes, no. I don't know. Vinnie set the glass down harder than intended. I built a life where they don't need him, and now they're choosing him anyway. They're not choosing him over you. They're choosing to satisfy their own curiosity about where they came from. That's healthy. After Rachel hung up, Vinnie walked through her house again. This ritual she'd developed of checking that everything was secure, doors locked, windows closed, children breathing steadily in their beds, control maintained. Except control was slipping. She stopped in front of Lennox's room. Her daughter had left her notebook open on the desk. Inside, a drawing. A woman standing tall with 4 children around her, and off to the side, a figure sketched in lighter pencil, separate but present. The caption read, "Our family?" Vinnie closed the notebook gently and retreated to her own bedroom. The brownstone had cost a fortune, but she'd wanted her children to have space and stability. Each choice she'd made had been calculated to prove that single motherhood wasn't a deficit, but a different kind of strength. She'd succeeded. Her children were thriving. And now they were making room for the man who'd left them before they existed. Her therapist had warned her about this. At some point, you'll have to decide whether your anger serves you or controls you. Vinnie had insisted her anger was justified. It was fuel, it was protection. But watching her children tentatively connect with Jason, she'd felt something shift. Not forgiveness. Something more complicated. The realization that her children weren't extensions of her hurt. They were their own people with their own needs. She opened her laptop and typed Jason's name into the search bar. His social media was sparse. No public photos. His business had closed. That much was clear from the outdated website. She found one recent article about the youth center where he volunteered. A small piece about their financial literacy program. Jason Dudley teaches single parents how to budget, the article said. He brings personal experience to the work, understanding what it means to rebuild from mistakes. Vinnie closed the laptop. She didn't want to see him as 3-dimensional. It was easier when he existed as pure villain in her narrative. The next morning, Thomas Kent called. The children would like another visit. Jason is available whenever works for your family. Weekly is too much, Vinny said immediately. What feels manageable? Every other week. Same location, same time limit. That's reasonable. I'll coordinate with Mr. Dudley. Thomas, be honest with me. Is he genuine or is this an act? Silence on the other end. Then, in my professional opinion, he's a man who genuinely destroyed his life through cowardice and is trying to figure out if redemption is possible. Whether he succeeds is the question. But the effort appears authentic. Authentic effort doesn't erase damage. No, but it's better than no effort at all. Vinny agreed to the schedule and hung up. Her assistant knocked on her office door. You have the board meeting in 10 minutes. Thank you, Hannah. The board meeting was tense. A competitor had launched a similar service at a lower price point. Her team presented response strategies. Vinny listened, asked sharp questions, made decisions that would affect contracts worth millions. Afterward, her CFO lingered. You seem distracted. I'm fine. Vinny, I've worked with you long enough to know when something's pulling your focus. Is it the kids? She considered lying. Instead said, their father's back in the picture. The one who left? That's the one. Her CFO, a woman named Rita, who'd been through her own divorce, whistled low. How are you handling it? By pretending I'm handling it while everything feels like it's shifting under my feet. You want advice? Do I have a choice? Rita smiled. Control what you can. Release what you can't. Your kids are smart. Trust them to navigate this. What if they get hurt? Then you'll be there to help them heal like you've always been. That evening, Briar climbed into Vinny's lap while they watched a movie the others had chosen. Halfway through, Briar whispered, I'm not ready to like him yet. That's okay, sweetheart. But Lennox and Atlas and Cade might like him before I do. Is that okay too? Vinny kissed her daughter's head. Everyone gets to feel their own feelings at their own speed. Your heart doesn't have to match anyone else's heart. Even yours. Especially mine. The second visit happened 2 weeks later. Same park. Same setup. This time the children brought things to show Jason. Atlas brought his basketball trophy. Cade brought his math competition medal. Lennox brought nothing, still testing boundaries. Vinny watched from her bench as Jason admired each offering with what appeared to be genuine interest. He asked Atlas about the tournament, helped Cade explain the competition structure, told Lennox he respected that she came empty-handed because trust couldn't be rushed. Briar eventually approached him, carrying her stuffed rabbit. This is Oliver, she said quietly. Hi, Oliver. He's been with me since I was a baby. Mum gave him to me in the hospital. Jason looked at the worn rabbit, clearly understanding its significance. He's clearly very loved. Do you have anything from when you were little? I have a watch my father gave me before he died. I wear it every day to remember that time matters and shouldn't be wasted. Briar considered this. You wasted a lot of time not knowing us. Yes, I did. Can you get it back? No, but I can try not to waste any more. Briar nodded and returned to her siblings. Jason looked toward Vinny's bench. Their eyes met across the playground. He didn't smile or wave, just acknowledged her presence before turning back to the children. After the visit, driving home, Lennox announced, I've decided he's trying. I'm still mad, but he's trying. Trying isn't the same as succeeding, Vinny said carefully. I know, but it's better than nothing. That night, Vinny opened her email and did something she'd sworn she'd never do. She typed Jason's address into a new message. Subject, boundaries. Body, they like you. Don't make me regret allowing this. Don't promise them anything you can't deliver. Don't be interesting and then disappear. They've had enough absence. If you're doing this, you're all in, or you're out completely. There's no middle ground when it comes to my children. She stared at the draft for 15 minutes, finally hit send. His response came within the hour. Understood. I have no intention of leaving. Whatever happens, I'm here until they tell me otherwise. You have my word, for whatever that's worth. Your word isn't worth much to me yet, she typed back. But it might be worth something to them. Don't waste that. She closed her laptop and allowed herself to acknowledge the truth she'd been avoiding. Jason Dudley wasn't going anywhere, and her children were building bridges to him whether she liked it or not. The real question was whether she had the strength to watch them cross those bridges without trying to burn them down. Chapter 6. The Man Who Had to Lose Everything to See Anything. Jason's studio apartment smelled like instant coffee and determination. He sat at a desk he'd rescued from a curb, spreadsheets open on his laptop, working through the youth center's budget. The organization ran on donated hope and stretched dollars, and Jason had volunteered to help them make the math work. His phone showed a text from Derek, his former legal aid attorney. Heard the visits are going well. Congrats, man. Jason typed back, thanks, taking it slow. Slow felt like racing compared to 6 years of nothing. Every other week, he got 2 hours with 4 children who were gradually deciding he might be worth their time. Between visits, he thought about nothing else. His refrigerator contained the basics: eggs, bread, vegetables he actually cooked now instead of eating takeout he couldn't afford. He'd lost weight not from trying, but from anxiety replacing appetite. Every decision felt weighted with the possibility of disappointing people who'd already been disappointed by him once. Gerald had called last week with surprising news. Someone wants to hire you. Small non-profit needs part-time bookkeeping. Interested? Jason had taken the job immediately. The pay was modest but steady. More importantly, it was work he could be proud of, helping organizations that helped people. His landlord knocked on the door. Jason opened it to find the elderly woman holding an envelope. Rent's not due until next week, Jason said. I know. This came for you. Certified. Looks official. Jason signed for it and opened the envelope after she left. Inside, legal documents. His heart stopped until he read the header. Petition for unsupervised visitation rights. Thomas Kent had recommended removing supervision. The children were comfortable. Jason had demonstrated consistency. The court hearing was scheduled for next month. He read the document 3 times, looking for catches, finding none except the obvious. This was a test with no practice rounds. If he failed unsupervised visits, he'd lose everything he'd carefully rebuilt. That afternoon at the youth center, he taught a class on emergency savings to 6 single mothers. One woman, Julie, had twins and worked 2 jobs. She reminded him painfully of what Vinny must have endured. I can't save when everything goes to daycare and rent, Julie said, frustrated. Start with $5 a week, Jason suggested. It feels like nothing, but it builds the habit. The amount matters less than the consistency. After class, Julie approached him. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. You talk about consistency like it's everything. Do you have kids? Jason hesitated. Yes. 4, I wasn't there when they were young. I'm trying to be there now. Why weren't you there? I made assumptions instead of asking questions. I believed the wrong things. I left. Julie nodded slowly. My ex did the same. Walked out when the twins were babies. Hasn't called once in 3 years. At least you came back. Coming back doesn't undo the leaving. No, but it's something. My kids would kill for a dad who showed up even late. That night, Jason couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the unsupervised visit petition. If approved, he could take the children places, do normal father things, build real relationships instead of supervised interactions. He drafted an email to Thomas. What happens if I mess up during unsupervised visits? Thomas responded within an hour. Define messing up. I don't know, saying the wrong thing, making them uncomfortable, being boring. Jason, you're overthinking. Just be present, listen, follow their lead. You've been doing that successfully for months. Supervised is different. Someone's watching, it keeps me sharp. Then stay sharp without the audience. These kids don't need perfection. They need reliability. The next visit, Jason brought a soccer ball. Not as a gift. He'd learned gifts felt manipulative, but as an activity option, Atlas immediately claimed it, and they kicked it around while the others watched. "Mom never plays sports with us," Atlas said. "She's too busy. She built a company while raising you four. That's impressive." "Yeah, but she doesn't understand basketball strategy, or soccer formations, or anything sports." "Different people have different strengths. Your mum's strengths are pretty extraordinary." "Are you defending her?" "I'm stating facts. She did everything I should have helped with. The least I can do is acknowledge that." Atlas considered this while dribbling. "That's weird. You compliment her even though she probably hates you." "She has excellent reasons to hate me. Doesn't make what she accomplished less impressive." Cade appeared with his notebook. "I have a new problem. It's probability-based." They sat on a bench working through the problem. Jason got stuck halfway through. "I think we need to approach this differently." "You don't know the answer?" Cade looked surprised. "I'm good at math, not perfect at it. Sometimes you have to admit when you're lost." "Mom says that too. She says admitting confusion is the first step to understanding." "Your mum's right about a lot of things." Lennox finally approached, her usual skepticism evident. "Why do you keep defending her? You trying to get her to like you?" "No, I'm being honest. Your mum is remarkable. Nothing I say will make her like me. But that doesn't make it less true." "Huh." Lennox sat down. "You're consistent. I'll give you that." "What do you mean?" "Every visit you say the same kinds of things. You don't change your story. You don't try to make yourself look better. It's weird but kind of trustworthy. Consistency is all I have to offer right now." "Mom values consistency. She says people who keep their word are rare." Jason felt the weight of that statement. She's right, and I broke my word to her completely. So if I can keep every word I say now, maybe it counts for something small. Briar joined them, Oliver the rabbit under her arm. "Thomas says you might get to take us places without Mom watching. If the judge approves it and you're comfortable with it." "Where would we go?" "Wherever you want, museum, park, library, ice cream place, your choice always." "What if we want to go somewhere boring?" "Then we'll go somewhere boring and I'll be grateful you let me be there for it." The 2-hour visit ended too quickly again. As the children gathered their things, Lennox pulled Jason aside. "I'm voting yes for unsupervised visits. So is Atlas and Cade. Briar's thinking about it." "You don't have to rush." "I'm not rushing, I'm deciding. You haven't messed up yet. Maybe you will eventually. But so far, you're doing okay." "That means more than you know." "Don't make me regret saying it." That evening, Jason received an email from Vinny. Subject: Ground rules. "If the court approves unsupervised visits, these are non-negotiable. No leaving the city, no overnight stays. Phone location sharing enabled at all times, emergency contacts programmed. Any problems, you call me immediately. Any injuries, you call me first, then 911. They don't eat junk food for meals. Bedtime routines don't change just because they're with you. And Jason, if you bring anyone else around them without my explicit approval, this ends instantly. Understood?" He wrote back, "Understood. All of it. Thank you for trusting me this much." Her response came quickly. "I'm not trusting you. I'm trusting my children's judgment. Don't confuse the two." Jason printed her rules and taped them to his refrigerator. Every boundary was fair, every restriction earned. The court hearing arrived with surprising speed. Jason wore his best suit, which hung slightly loose now. Vinny sat across the room looking armored in grey. The judge reviewed Thomas's recommendation. "The guardian ad litem believes supervised visitation can progress to supervised outings. 4 hours maximum public locations. Phone contact maintained with the mother." The judge looked at Jason. "Mr. Dudley, do you understand the responsibility you're accepting?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Ms. Vincent, any objections?" Vinny stood. "No objections, but I want it on record that the first incident ends this arrangement immediately." Noted. Supervised outings approved. Next review in 3 months. Outside the courthouse, Vinny stopped Jason. They're excited about this. Don't waste their excitement. I won't. You keep saying that. Eventually you'll have to prove it. She walked away, her children trailing behind, already chattering about where they wanted to go first. Jason stood watching them disappear into the parking lot, 4 voices overlapping with possibility, and promised himself he'd rather die than let them down. Chapter 7. The day 4 children decided to trust a little more. The Natural History Museum smelled like air conditioning and centuries. Jason stood in the lobby watching the quadruplets study the directory, arguing about which exhibit to see first. Dinosaurs? Atlas insisted. Ocean life, Briar countered quietly. Ancient civilizations, Cade said. Already heading toward the stairs, Lennox looked at Jason. You're the tiebreaker. What do you vote for? I vote for you 4 deciding together. I'm just here to carry bags and buy snacks. That's a cop-out answer, Lennox said, but she was smiling slightly. They compromised by hitting all 3 exhibits. Jason followed, listening to them debate facts, correct each other, and occasionally ask his opinion on displays. He took photos when they asked, and stayed quiet when they didn't. In the ocean exhibit, Briar pressed close to the glass watching jellyfish pulse through illuminated water. They're so delicate, but they can sting really badly. Sometimes delicate things are the most dangerous, Jason said. Is that about Mom? Briar asked without looking away from the glass. Jason paused. Why would you think that? Because she looks gentle, but she's actually really strong. And I think she could destroy people if she wanted to. You're very perceptive. I listen a lot. People think I'm shy, but I'm just collecting information. That's a good strategy. You should know she cries sometimes. At night when she thinks we're asleep, I hear her. Jason's chest tightened. Do you know why? I think she's tired. Not sleepy tired. Life tired. Briar finally looked at him. You made her life really hard. Yes, I did. Can you make it easier now? I don't know. But I can try not to make it harder. They moved to the dinosaur exhibit, where Atlas immediately found the largest skeleton and began explaining its hunting patterns. Cade listened with scientific interest, occasionally challenging Atlas's facts. Actually, recent studies suggest they were scavengers, not predators, Cade said. Some were both, Atlas argued. Jason watched them debate, seeing Vinny in their analytical approaches, their confidence, their refusal to accept information without questioning it. Lennox appeared beside him. You're watching us like we're museum exhibits. Sorry, I'm just trying to learn who you are. We're not that complicated. Atlas likes sports and being right. Cade likes puzzles and being accurate. Briar likes quiet things and being kind. I like testing people and being honest. What are you testing me for? Whether you'll stay, whether you mean what you say, whether you're worth the risk of caring about. And what's the verdict so far? Still collecting data. She walked away to join her siblings. They had lunch in the museum cafe. Jason let them order what they wanted within reason. He'd brought cash and budgeted carefully. When Atlas asked for a second soda, Jason said, "One's enough, your mom's rules." Mom's not here, Atlas pointed out, which is why following her rules matters more, not less. Lennox nodded approvingly. Good answer. After lunch, they found a quiet corner with bench seating. Cade pulled out a puzzle book, and Atlas sprawled across 2 seats. Briar drew in a sketchbook she'd brought. Lennox looked at Jason. Can I ask you something serious? Always. Why did you believe your mom over our mom? The other 3 went silent, pretending not to listen while obviously listening completely. Jason took a breath. Because I was raised to trust my mother above everything, and because I was scared that loving someone meant they could hurt me. So when presented with evidence that confirmed my fears, I took the easy path of believing it instead of the hard path of trusting. That's stupid, Lennox said flatly. Yes. Love is supposed to mean you trust people. You're right. So you didn't really love her if you didn't trust her. Jason felt that land like a physical blow. I thought I did, but you're right. Real love requires trust. I failed at that. Do you love her now? Briar asked softly. I don't know. I know I respect her. I know I'm in awe of what she built. I know she deserves better than what I gave her. Whether that's love or just recognition of what I destroyed, I honestly can't tell. Cade looked up from his puzzle. That's the first time you've admitted you don't know something about feelings. I don't know a lot of things about feelings. I'm better at numbers. Me too, Cade agreed. Feelings are complicated variables. They spent another hour in the museum before Jason drove them home. The ride was noisy with overlapping conversations about what they'd seen. Jason navigated traffic while tracking the GPS coordinates Vinny would be monitoring. When they arrived at the brownstone, Vinny opened the door before they reached it. She looked at each child, a quick assessment for damage or distress. How was it? She asked them. Good, Atlas said. We saw a T-Rex skeleton that was awesome. I liked the jellyfish, Briar added. The ancient civilizations exhibit had several historical inaccuracies, Cade reported, but overall, educational. Jason followed all your rules, Lennox announced. We tested him. He passed. Vinny's eyes flicked to Jason. Thank you for bringing them home safely. Of course. The children filed inside. Before Vinny could close the door, Jason said, Can I ask you something? Quickly. Are you okay with all this? That's not your concern. I know it's not, but I'm asking anyway. Vinny studied him with those eyes that had built empires. I'm managing. That's all you need to know. If there's anything I can do to make this easier, there isn't. The only thing you can do is keep being consistent with them. Don't expand your role beyond father. Don't try to fix things between us. Just be reliable for them. Understood. She started to close the door, then paused. They talked about you all week. They were excited for today. Don't let that excitement become expectation you can't meet. I'll do my best. Your best hasn't always been enough. Make sure it is now. The door closed. Jason stood on the steps for a moment, then walked back to his car. His phone buzzed with a text from Atlas. When can we go somewhere else? He smiled and responded, Whenever your mum approves another outing. What did you have in mind? Basketball game. Professional, please. Jason checked ticket prices online, found affordable seats for a weeknight game. Texted Vinny. Atlas asked about attending a basketball game. Would that be acceptable? I can send you specific details for approval. Her response took 20 minutes. Send me the details, I'll consider it. He sent her the arena name, seat locations, game time, transportation plan, and emergency procedures. Then he waited. 3 hours later. Approved, same rules apply. They need to be home by 9. Jason bought 4 tickets immediately, then texted the children. Basketball game approved for next month, Atlas. You're in charge of explaining the rules to me since I barely understand them. Atlas responded with 7 exclamation points and a basketball emoji. That night, Jason sat in his apartment, updating his budget spreadsheet. The museum admission, lunch, parking, and basketball tickets had depleted his savings, but watching 4 children slowly decide he might be worth their time was valuable beyond any calculation he knew how to make. His phone showed a new email. Subject, Quarterly Review. Thomas Kent wanted to meet. Standard procedure. Jason scheduled it for the following week, then lay in bed staring at his ceiling, thinking about Briar's question, could he make Vinny's life easier now? Probably not. The damage was carved too deep, but he could make sure her children never regretted letting him into their world. That would have to be enough. Chapter 8. The evening, everything almost fell apart. The basketball game was supposed to be straightforward. Jason had planned every detail, sent Vinny the complete itinerary, and arrived at the brownstone exactly on time. The quadruplets piled into his car wearing team jerseys Atlas had insisted they needed. Traffic was heavier than expected. Jason kept checking the GPS, recalculating arrival times. They'd still make tip-off, but barely. "We're going to miss the player introductions," Atlas fretted from the back seat. "We'll get there," Jason promised, though anxiety was crawling up his spine. Then Briar said quietly, "I don't feel good." Jason glanced in the rearview mirror. Briar's face had gone pale. "What kind of not good?" "Stomach. Dizzy." "Pull over," Lennox commanded. "She gets car sick sometimes." Jason found a gas station and parked. Briar stumbled out and threw up in the bushes. Jason held her hair back while she heaved, his heart racing with panic. This wasn't in the plan. Vinny's rules flashed through his mind. Any problems, call immediately. He pulled out his phone and dialed. Vinny answered on the first ring. "What's wrong?" "Briar's car sick. She just got sick. I pulled over. We're at a gas station on Route 5. I don't know if we should continue to the game or let me talk to her." Jason handed the phone to Briar. She wiped her mouth with tissues Cade had produced from somewhere and took the phone. "Hi, Mom. I'm okay, just threw up. My stomach feels better now, yes. Okay. Yes, I promise." She handed the phone back to Jason. Vinny's voice was tight. "She says she wants to continue. If she gets sick again, you turn around immediately and bring them home." "Understood. And Jason, you did the right thing calling." The line went dead before he could respond. They got back in the car. Jason drove more carefully, avoiding sudden turns. Atlas was quiet, his excitement dimmed by worry for his sister. Cade kept checking on Briar. Lennox watched Jason with evaluating eyes. "You freaked out a little," Lennox observed. "Yes, but you called Mom right away." "It was the right thing to do. A lot of people wouldn't have. They would have tried to handle it themselves and made it worse." They made it to the arena 15 minutes after tip-off. Jason found their seats quickly. Atlas's face lit up watching professional players move across the court with precision that made his own skills look elementary. During halftime, Jason bought them snacks. Reasonable snacks, mindful of Vinny's rules about junk food. When Atlas asked for a large soda, Jason said, "Medium, and we'll share the popcorn." "You're really serious about following Mom's rules," Cade observed. "Your mom trusted me enough to let you come here. I'm not going to betray that trust over snack sizes." "Do you like her?" Briar asked suddenly. The question caught Jason off guard. "What do you mean? Like, do you think she's pretty? Do you want to date her? The kids at school say their divorced parents try to get back together sometimes." Jason chose his words carefully. "Your mom is impressive, but whether I like her isn't relevant. I destroyed her trust completely. She's letting me know you four, not giving me a second chance with her." "But what if she wanted to?" Briar pressed. "I don't think she does, and I don't blame her." "That's sad," Briar said quietly. "A lot of things are sad. Doesn't mean they're wrong." The second half was intense. The home team lost by 3 points in the final seconds. Atlas was devastated in the way only someone who truly loves sports can be devastated by outcomes they have no control over. On the drive home, Jason let Atlas process his disappointment. They should have fouled. The strategy was completely wrong. "Sometimes good teams make bad decisions," Jason said. "Doesn't make them less good, just human." "Is that about the team or about you?" Lennox asked. Jason smiled slightly. "Can be about both." They arrived at the brownstone at 8:45. 15 minutes early, Vinny opened the door, assessing Briar first. "How's your stomach?" "Better. I kept down the crackers Jason bought me." Vinny's eyes met Jason's, a question in them. "She felt better after getting sick," Jason explained. "I watched her closely. No other incidents. They lost by 3, Atlas said mournfully. Terrible coaching in the final minute. There's always next game, Vinny said, pulling him into a hug. The children trooped inside, already arguing about the game's key moments. Before the door closed, Vinny stopped Jason again. Thank you for calling me. A lot of people would have tried to power through and hoped I wouldn't find out. That seemed like a good way to lose your trust permanently. You don't have my trust yet, but you're earning credibility. They're different things. I'll take credibility. Jason. She paused, seeming to struggle with something. They really enjoy time with you. That's hard for me to admit. But it's true. I enjoy time with them too. They're extraordinary. They are, because I made them that way. Her voice hardened slightly. Don't forget that. I never do. She closed the door. Jason walked to his car, processing the evening, the near disaster with Briar. The way he'd handled it. Vinny's acknowledgement that he'd done something right. His phone buzzed with a text from Thomas Kent. Quarterly review tomorrow at 3. My office. Jason confirmed and drove home. His apartment felt emptier than usual after an evening of noise and life and 4 distinct personalities filling his car with energy. The next afternoon, Thomas's office was neutral and professional. He gestured for Jason to sit. The children's feedback has been positive, consistent positive. Do you know how rare that is in these situations? I'm just showing up and trying not to disappoint them. That's more than most fathers in your situation manage. Thomas pulled out a file. Ms. Vincent's feedback is more measured. She acknowledges you follow rules and communicate appropriately. She's not comfortable yet, but she's not blocking progress. What does that mean for next steps? It means we continue current arrangements. But Jason, I want to be direct with you. You're doing well, but you're always going to be provisional in Vinny's eyes. She's built a fortress around those kids. You're being allowed in the courtyard, not the castle. That's more than I deserve. Maybe. But at some point you'll have to decide if being permanently provisional is enough. Can you live with being the dad she tolerates rather than trusts? Jason thought about Briar's question at the game, about whether he liked Vinny, about whether forgiveness was even possible. If being tolerated means I get to know my children, then yes, I can live with that. Fair enough. Thomas closed the file. Keep doing what you're doing. Consistency is your greatest asset right now. That evening, Jason received an email from Vinny. Subject, logistics. The children want you at Cade's math competition next weekend. You can attend, but you'll sit separately from us. They also want you at Briar's school art show the week after. Same arrangement. Atlas has a basketball game the following month. Lennox has nothing scheduled, but insisted I include her in this email so you don't think she's being left out. These are observation events. You're there to watch, not participate. Understood? Jason wrote back. Understood. Thank you for including me. Send me times and locations and I'll be there. He sat back and looked at his calendar. Once empty except for work shifts, now filling with school events and games and competitions, normal parent things he'd forfeited the right to expect. But here they were, 4 children tentatively giving him space in their lives, and one exhausted woman allowing it despite every reason not to. Chapter 9. The Moment. Vinny finally asked for help. Vinny's office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, but she wasn't admiring the view. She was staring at her computer screen, reading the same contract clause for the 5th time without absorbing a word. Hannah knocked softly. You have the investor call in 10 minutes. Cancel it. Vinny, you never cancel calls. I'm canceling this one. Tell them I'll reschedule. Hannah left, concern evident in her expression. Vinny closed her laptop and pressed her palms against her eyes. The exhaustion wasn't physical. It was something deeper. Soul-tired, Briar had called it once, and the description was uncomfortably accurate. Her phone showed 17 unread messages, 3 from her lawyer about contract negotiations, 5 from her accountant about quarterly projections, 2 from the kids' school about permission slips, 1 from Jason confirming he'd received the schedule for upcoming events. She opened Jason's message, "I'll be at all of them. Thank you for letting me be part of their lives, even from the sidelines." Something about his consistent gratitude irritated her. She didn't want him grateful. She wanted him to have been there from the beginning so gratitude wouldn't be necessary. Her therapist's number was in her recent calls Vinny dialed before she could talk herself out of it. "I need an emergency session." "What's going on?" "I'm tired of being strong, I'm tired of doing everything alone, and I'm tired of resenting a man who's actually trying while simultaneously hating that his trying matters to my children." "Can you come in now?" "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Dr. Morrison's office always smelled like lavender. Vinny sank into the familiar couch and let out a breath she'd been holding for months. "Talk to me," Dr. Morrison said. "He's good with them, Jason. He's patient and present, and he follows every single rule. The kids love their time with him, and I hate that I hate it." "Why do you hate it?" "Because I did everything alone. I earned their love through years of showing up. He's been around for months and they're already making space for him. It feels unfair." "Is their love for you diminished by their growing affection for him?" "No, but it feels like it should be." "Should be? Or you want it to be?" Vinny was quiet. "I want him to face consequences, real consequences, not just feel bad and show up late and get accepted anyway." "What consequence would feel fair?" "I don't know. Nothing feels fair. He destroyed me, and I built myself back stronger. But that strength is exhausting to maintain. And watching him just exist in our lives now, without having carried the weight I've carried, makes me furious." "Have you told him that?" "I don't owe him my feelings." "I'm not suggesting you do. I'm asking if keeping all of this inside is serving you." Vinny left the session with no answers, but slightly less pressure in her chest. She picked up the kids from school. They piled into her car, all talking at once about their days. "Dad's coming to my math competition," Cade announced. Vinny gripped the steering wheel. "I know. I sent him the information." "Are you okay with that?" Lennox asked carefully. "Why wouldn't I be?" "Because you get tense when we talk about him. Your shoulders go up." Perceptive children were a blessing until they turned that perception on you. "I'm fine. I want him there if you want him there. But what do you want?" Briar-pressed Vinny pulled into their driveway and turned to face them. "What I want is complicated. I want you to have a relationship with your father if that's what you need. I want him to be reliable and kind to you. I want him to never hurt you. And I want to not feel like I'm betraying myself by allowing any of it." "That is complicated," Cade agreed. Inside, Vinny made dinner while the kids did homework. Atlas appeared in the kitchen holding his phone. "Can I ask you something weird?" "Always." "Do you think you'll ever like Dad again? Not like love him, just like him as a person?" Vinny set down the knife she was using to cut vegetables. "Why are you asking?" "Because he asks about you sometimes. Not in a weird way, like he'll say, 'Your mom would be proud of that,' or 'Your mom taught you well.' And I wonder if you notice that he respects you even though you don't respect him." "I respect what he's doing now." "That's not the same as respecting him." "No, it's not. Will it ever be?" Vinny looked at her son, so earnest and thoughtful. "I don't know, sweetheart. Some things break in ways that can't be fixed. Only adapted to." That weekend, Cade's math competition was held at a university auditorium. Vinny arrived early, finding seats near the front. Jason appeared minutes later, sitting in the back row as instructed. The competition was intense. Cade performed brilliantly, his mind processing complex problems with a speed that made Vinny proud and slightly terrified of his intelligence. When his name was announced as a finalist, the audience applauded. Vinny glanced back. Jason was clapping enthusiastically, his face showing genuine pride for a child he barely knew. After the competition, Cade rushed to Vinny. "Did you see? I got third place." "I'm so proud of you. Can I go show Dad?" Vinny hesitated, then nodded. Cade ran to the back. Vinny watched Jason crouch down, examining the medal, listening to Cade explain the problems he'd solved. The interaction looked natural, easy. Lennox appeared beside Vinny. "You look sad." "I'm not sad. I'm proud." "You can be both." After everyone left, Jason approached slowly. "He was incredible. You've clearly encouraged his talents." "I've given him every opportunity to excel." "It shows." Jason paused. "Vinny, can I say something?" "If you must." "I know this is hard for you, watching me be part of their lives. I see it in the way you hold yourself when I'm around. And I'm sorry. Not for being here now, but for making now the only option instead of always." Vinny felt something crack in her carefully maintained armor. "Do you know what the hardest part is? It's not that you're here now. It's that you're good at it. You're patient and thoughtful, and they like you, and that means I can't even hate you properly because you're becoming what I needed you to be 6 years too late. I can't change the timing. I know that's what makes it unbearable." She walked away before he could respond. On the drive home, the kids were quiet, sensing her mood. That night, after they were in bed, Vinny did something she'd sworn she'd never do. She texted Jason. "I need help. Briar has a school project due Monday. It requires building a model bridge. I'm terrible at construction. The other 3 have homework I need to supervise. Can you come over tomorrow and help her, just for the project? Then you leave." His response came immediately. "I'll be there. What time?" 2 o'clock, and Jason, this doesn't mean anything except that I'm tired and you're available." "Understood." Vinny set her phone down and allowed herself to acknowledge the truth she'd been fighting. She couldn't do everything alone anymore, not because she wasn't capable, but because choosing to accept help didn't mean she was weak. It meant she was human. And maybe that was the hardest lesson of all, Chapter 10, the beginning that felt like coming home. Jason arrived at the brownstone carrying supplies he'd bought that morning. Balsa wood, glue, measuring tools, and a package of string. He'd watched 3 tutorial videos on bridge construction and still felt underprepared. Vinny opened the door before he knocked. She looked different than usual, hair down, wearing jeans instead of business attire. More accessible somehow, though her expression remained guarded. "Briar's in the dining room. The others are doing homework upstairs. Please don't make this bigger than it is." "I won't." Briar sat at the table surrounded by scattered materials and frustration. When she saw Jason, her face brightened. "Mum said you're good at building things." "I'm decent at following instructions. Let's see the project requirements." They worked together for 2 hours. Jason showed Briar how to measure precisely, how to test weight distribution, how to fix mistakes without starting over. Vinny moved through the house, checking on the other children, occasionally glancing into the dining room. "Why does this angle matter?" Briar asked, holding 2 pieces of wood. "Because bridges carry weight. If the angles are wrong, pressure builds in the wrong places and everything collapses." "Like trust?" Jason looked at her. "That's a sophisticated metaphor." "Mum talks about relationships like engineering sometimes. She says broken trust is like a cracked foundation. You can build on it, but it's never as strong." "Your mum's right about that. Can cracked foundations be fixed?" "Sometimes. It takes a lot of work. And even then there's always evidence of the crack. You can see where the repair happened." "Is that bad?" "Not necessarily. Sometimes the repair is stronger than the original, but it looks different. You can't pretend the crack never happened." They finished the bridge as evening approached. It was sturdy and clean, spanning the gap between 2 stacks of books Briar had set up as testing platforms. "It's perfect," Briar breathed. "You did most of the work. I just helped with the tricky parts." Vinny appeared in the doorway. "Time to wash up for dinner." "Can Dad stay for dinner?" Briar asked. The question hung in the air. Vinny's face showed a series of micro-expressions Jason had learned to read. Surprise, resistance, calculation, resignation. If he wants to, Vinny said carefully. But it's just dinner, not a precedent. Jason looked at her. Are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Dinner was chaotic and wonderful. 4 children talked over each other, debating everything from homework to sports to whether the universe was infinite. Vinny managed the chaos with practiced ease, refereeing disputes and ensuring everyone ate vegetables. Jason stayed quiet, observing. This was their family rhythm, established over years without him. He was a guest in a dynamic he'd never helped build. After dinner, Lennox cornered him in the kitchen. That was weird having you here. Bad weird? Just weird. Different. We've never had dinner with you and Mom in the same room without lawyers and judges nearby. How did it feel? Like maybe it could be normal someday if you don't mess it up. I'll try not to. Trying isn't a guarantee. No, but it's all anyone can offer. When it was time to leave, Jason thanked Vinny at the door. The children had scattered to their rooms, leaving them alone in the foyer. Thank you for letting me stay, Jason said. Briar asked. I'm trying to let them make some decisions about your involvement. That's generous of you. It's not generosity, it's exhaustion. I can't control everything anymore. I built walls to protect them and myself, and now they're climbing over those walls to get to you, so either I maintain the walls and make them resent me, or I lower them slightly and watch what happens. What do you think will happen? Vinny leaned against the doorframe, looking more tired than he'd ever seen her. Honestly? I think you'll keep being consistent until I can't justify keeping you at arm's length anymore. I think my children will love you in their own ways. And I think I'll have to figure out how to exist in the same space as you without constantly reliving what you destroyed. Is that possible? I don't know. Ask me in a year. Jason nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I think you're the most impressive person I've ever known. What you've built, who you've become, how you've raised them. It's extraordinary. Don't do that. Do what? Compliment me to make yourself feel better about what you missed. I don't need your admiration. I need you to be reliable for 4 children who are deciding to trust you. You're right. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing and just do better. Apologies are words. Better is action. She closed the door softly. Jason walked to his car, the evening replaying in his mind, sitting at a dinner table with his family, helping his daughter with homework, existing in the same space as Vinny, without lawyers mediating, small things, normal things, things he'd forfeited the right to expect. His phone buzzed. A text from Vinny. The kids want to know if you can come to Atlas's basketball game next week. I told them I'd ask you. Jason responded, I'll be there. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then reappeared. Finally, they also want to know if you'd like to come to Lennox's birthday dinner, here, at the house, with everyone. I told them I'd pass along the invitation. Jason stared at the message. A birthday dinner. At their home. With everyone. Not supervised, not time-limited, just family. He typed carefully, I would be honored if you're comfortable with it. Her response took 5 minutes. I'm not comfortable, but I'm willing. Show up with a reasonable gift and appropriate behavior. Lennox likes books and art supplies. Nothing expensive. 7 o'clock. Thank you. Don't thank me, just show up. Jason drove home through streets that seemed brighter somehow. His apartment was still small and sparse, but it felt less like a punishment and more like a temporary situation he'd eventually move beyond. He'd lost 6 years, destroyed a relationship, abandoned 4 children before they were born, made every wrong choice at every crucial moment, but he'd also shown up when it mattered most, proven consistency when it would have been easier to disappear, earned the provisional trust of 4 extraordinary children and the grudging tolerance of the woman he'd broken. It wasn't redemption. Redemption implied the past could be erased. This was something different, something harder and more honest. It was the slow, painful, essential work of becoming someone worthy of a second chance he didn't deserve, but was determined to honor Jason, pulled out his phone and set a reminder for Lennox's birthday. Then he opened his budget spreadsheet and started calculating how to afford the things his children would need in the coming months. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. Because showing up wasn't just about presence, it was about investment, time, attention, consistency, and the daily choice to be better than the person he'd been outside his window. The city continued its evening routine. Somewhere in Brooklyn, 4 children were falling asleep in rooms filled with evidence of their mother's love and sacrifice. And for the first time in 6 years, they were dreaming futures that included a father who'd finally learned that trust wasn't given. It was built, one careful decision at a time. The bridge Briar had made would hold weight because the angles were right and the foundation was solid. Jason understood now that relationships worked the same way. You couldn't skip the engineering. You couldn't fake the measurements. You had to do the work correctly, patiently, honestly, or everything would collapse under pressure. He'd collapsed once, but he was learning to build. And maybe, eventually, that would be enough.